I'm Monica, and this is Stephen. Good morning and welcome to today's show. This beautiful Thursday, we will be talking about all things Europe, the good, the bad, and what makes Europe the very continent it is today. Without further ado, as our airtime is limited, I'm going to be directing everyone to my amazing colleague Stephen to start things off.
Good morning, everyone. First off, the Renaissance, which is an amazing time during the 1400s and the 1500s where humanism thrived. Individual talent was finally recognized, and the fine arts were reborn. Humanism focused people's attention around human nature rather than religion, and the fine arts adapted new techniques like balance and perspective. This time gave way to lasting effects on European culture, which was focused on Italy and the north of Europe. It brought art like the Mona Lisa and names like Michelangelo, which was still studied. This reintroduction of Greek and Roman culture is a distinct feature that gives Europe its rich history and which is unparalleled by other areas.
Oh, excuse me, just reading a book here. If you've ever read a book and you've never thanked Johannes Gutenberg, then I'm going to tell you why you should. As the Northern Renaissance thrived, the printing press was created by Johannes Gutenberg. This innovation allowed the total spread of literature, ideas, and everything you can imagine that's printed on paper. If you're aware that we still have books today, and you're aware that we have modern, more advanced printers today, then you'll see that this innovation shaped not only Europe, but modern-day world as the first steps towards the worldwide access to text.
Don't forget that the Renaissance and the printing press allowed the Reformation to sweep across Europe. The Reformation was a period during the 1500s and the 1600s where key figures like Martin Luther and John Calvin defied the problematic Roman Catholic Church, which used indulgences and lack of education among the clergy. This questioned the power of the church over state and allowed the future separation of the two, which remains in modern governments.
Next up, we'll have Aiden and Candace to tell us more about Europe.
Hello, moving on to our next segment of European history, Aristotle is actually wrong, and chaos overtakes Europe. Copernicus disproves the long-believed geocentric theory and proposes the heliocentric theory, which was proved by other revolutionary thinkers like Galileo and Kepler. Galileo is now sentenced to life in prison, though, so be careful, the Pope is watching you. Thanks to apples just like that one, Newton discovers gravity, and ever since then, it makes sense why we don't just fly off the Earth. The scientific revolution brought forth many discoveries, which most still remain relevant today, and emphasized hands-on learning about the natural world instead of accepting dogma from the church.
As the scientific revolution came, so did the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment was a period when thinkers called philosophers applied newly learned sciences about human nature to government. Men like Montesquieu and John Locke provided government leaders like Catherine and Peter the Great with new ways to govern and appeal to citizens at the same time. Government rule improved as much as it drifted away from absolutism and more towards constitutionalism. England's Bill of Rights and advanced parliament made it the most democratic government of its time.
Now we move ourselves towards the French Revolution. Awful rulers like Louis XVI put France in poverty and hunger. The Third Estate dramatically breaks from the Second and First Estate and creates the tennis court oath, and now the guillotine has killed thousands. Robespierre, a radical Jacobin supported by sans-culottes, has taken over France and threatens to behead everybody who questions him. The Reign of Terror is truly a fearful reign. This all started when the poor French wanted representation, but it has gotten completely out of hand.
With Robespierre ironically being killed by the guillotine itself, Napoleon has taken over and plans to turn France into the head of Europe. His amazing military skills and expansion strategies have proven successful, as he's more than doubled France's size. Napoleon actually came close to conquering the entirety of Europe, but after attempting to invade Russia during the winter, his power declined and ultimately France fell. Don't attack Russia in the winter, or at all, really. The French Revolution and Napoleon marked a time where France was its most powerful and where it regained its stance in Europe. but it also killed thousands of people and Napoleon was unsuccessful. Also, be careful. History tends to repeat itself.
In the meantime, while the French killed themselves and the mainland of Europe is beheading everyone, the Netherlands and Britain have reached the Industrial Revolution, where the way of production and work changes its face forever. Factories are born as agriculture advances and farmers are now needed to work machines. Europe now has a more stable food supply and a faster way to produce things. Railroads innovate transport and plunge Western Europe way ahead of the East, as the British are more advanced than its neighboring countries. Other states felt the need to advance themselves and innovation was more rapid, benefiting Europe as a whole, and today it remains one of the most advanced areas of our world.
But this revolution isn't all it was cracked up to be. Factories are dark, dangerous, and require intense physical labor. Women and children were not excluded until things like the Mines Act and Combination Act, which protected children but stripped rights from women, leaving the legacy of poor women's rights.
Given that Europe is more advanced than surrounding areas, colonialism and imperialism give way and lead to nations like China, Australia, and South America to be overtaken by Europeans. Europeans demand raw material and labor from the countries they invade, automatically putting natives and other governments as their subordinates. Nationalism was an important factor in this confident behavior, and often does more bad than good, as history shows. Breaking news! Hitler sucks!
I agree, and we accidentally made him leader of Germany. Promising a desperate German people food and leadership, of which they received none, Hitler successfully came to power, as we all attempted to ignore the fact that he was going to decimate the entire Jewish population. Back on our part.
Hashtag 1,000 points. Hashtag get that tank. Hashtag
Buongiorno, principessa.
Communism ranks just under fascism as the worst way to govern a country. But just this week, Stalin reached number 1 on our top 100 list for history's best mustache. Communism attempts to make a country of equal workers, but in reality it creates a country of poverty. Stalin, much like Robespierre, kills all who question or counter his rule.
Khrushchev attempts to de-Stalinize the Soviet Union but ultimately loses power because the Communist Party felt threatened and the Cuban Missile Crisis was really awkward. Then Brezhnev tries to re-Stalinize with fear tactics and prevents any Eastern countries from gaining independence. Lastly, Gorbachev, a believer in communism, does everything in his power to destroy communism and succeeds. This fall of the Soviet Union led Eastern Europe to independence, and while it weakened Europe for little, it was vital to its regrowth.
So that's Europe for you. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this morning's show.
bye!
Hey!
Hurry, hurry, shut it off, shut it off, shut it off, shut it off. He's coming.
It's too confusing how you have to go between lines.
Next up, we'll have Aiden in Kansas. Kansas!
Definitely can't say that.
Man, raw materials, labor. You have to start over. I've done it like 3 times.
Start again.
Turn it. Communism. Wait. Did you put the other hand up?
No.
Oh,
You could it.